All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're going to explore the incredibly profound, ancient, and honestly sometimes terrifying relationship between human identity and the tools we create. I mean, from the very first stones our ancestors sharpened, all the way to the unfathomably complex AI systems we're navigating today, we have always been toolmakers. But the real underlying question we need to ask is, how much do those tools actually make us?
Seriously, take a second and just look at your smartphone. I want you to ask yourself, where do you actually end and where does your phone begin? I know, it sounds a bit like a dorm room philosophical riddle, right? But as we're going to see, the boundary between your mind and your device is much, much thinner than you probably think. This isn't just some lecture about managing your screen time. It's a fundamental question about how our very identities are formed and maintained in the modern world.
To unpack all of this, here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover the externalized mind. Second, the philosophy of the extended self. Third, we'll look at the ghost of necessity. And finally, reasserting human agency.
Okay, kicking things off with Section 1, the externalized mind. Are we fundamentally defined by our tools?
So let's rewind. Way back, like over 2.5 million years back, to Homo habilis in East Africa. Crafting a simple stone flake back then wasn't just about basic survival. It required foresight, it required planning, and visualization. In a very real way, these early humans were effectively externalizing aspects of human thought directly into the physical world. That stone tool wasn't just a rock. It was literally the first piece of externalized human cognition. Fast forward to the agricultural revolution around 10,000 BCE, and this recursive relationship just goes into hyperdrive. Tools like the plow and irrigation didn't just give us more food or boost productivity, they entirely re-engineered human society and our daily realities. I mean, they forced this massive shift from nomadic foraging to settled communities, which in turn completely reshaped human life cycles, altered gender roles, and fundamentally changed how we even perceived our interaction with the environment around us. Which brings us right to Section 2, the philosophy of the extended self. Basically, what happens when tools become us. Let's start with the philosopher Martin Heidegger, who introduced this brilliant concept called Zuhandheit, or readiness-to-hand. This perfectly explains why you barely even notice the glass of your phone screen until it cracks. He argued that when a tool functions properly, it literally recedes into the background of our consciousness. You don't think about the tool, you simply think through it. And while it operates invisibly, it just seamlessly becomes a part of how you experience and shape your reality.
Building right on top of that, we have Marshall McLuhan's famous maxim, the medium is the message. McLuhan argued that every single technology is essentially a prosthesis that alters our perception and restructures how society is organized. And the absolute most crucial part here? It does this entirely regardless of the actual content flowing through it. The tool itself is the primary agent of change.
Now, modern cognitive science takes this a huge step further. Andy Clark and David Chalmers introduced the extended mind theory, positing that human thought isn't strictly confined to the neural activity happening inside your physical skull. Instead, your cognition is actually distributed across a massive network of tools and informational resources. That means your AI assistants, your cloud servers, your apps, they aren't just simple utilities anymore. In the digital age, they are the active environments where your very identity is continually negotiated.
And so we hit this massive dilemma in modern infosphere ethics. If the machine is literally part of your extended mind, where exactly does your individual responsibility end and the machine's autonomous action begin?
That tension leads us perfectly into Section 3, the ghost of necessity. We are talking about technological determinism.
Historically, this whole debate boils down to two major camps: technological determinism on one side versus human agency on the other. These deterministic anxieties really started taking root during the rapid, rhythmic mechanization of the Industrial Revolution. At the time, it felt like machines were reshaping social hierarchies and family routines at a speed that was totally autonomous and, honestly, way beyond human control.
Looking at the deterministic side of things, thinkers like Thorstein Veblen and Karl Marx basically argued that we don't control our tools, they control us. Veblen observed that engineering and production techniques independently drive our economic structures. And Marx suggested that productive forces, our tools, ultimately dictate how society is organized and who actually holds power, establishing these strict hierarchies that we're all forced to live within. And honestly, we often do feel trapped by this cycle because of a concept called path dependence.
It works like this. First, a new technology is widely integrated. Then, network effects kick in, creating immense structural pressures across all of society. By the time we reach step 3, alternative social and structural arrangements become nearly impossible. I mean, getting rid of something like the combustion engine becomes structurally unfeasible once it hits critical mass. We just become locked in.
But we aren't completely helpless here, which brings us to Section 4, Reasserting Human Agency, the architect's choice.
Because, at the end of the day, as thinkers like Mumford and Ide suggest, technology remains socially constructed. Take artificial intelligence, for example. Unregulated automation could easily exacerbate social inequality by replacing workers without creating safety nets. But, through human-centered design, AI could promote unprecedented economic inclusion. It's a crossroads governed entirely by our own conscious policy, our regulatory frameworks, and our design choices.
When you zoom out, history shows us this continuous, recursive pattern of civilization. We design tools to extend our capabilities. Those tools, in turn, undeniably reshape the conditions of our existence. But here is the absolute key takeaway. Our human agency, even when it feels constrained by those new conditions, is never absent. We aren't just passive recipients of progress. As we move toward incredibly intimate emerging paradigms, like brain-computer interfaces, we have to actively apply our agency to guide and design the next generation of tools.
Because here's the thing. In an exponential age driven by autonomous systems and rapid advancement, the single most important tool we possess isn't a microchip. It's not a software program or some complex algorithm. The most important tool is, quite simply, intentionality.
So I want to leave you with this final thought. Since technology is both a driver and a product of human choice, how will you use your intentionality to design the tools that shape your destiny? Recognizing this shaping power is the very first step. So, what choices will you make today regarding the digital ecosystem you live in?